children, today, how are you feeling? Is it very hot or cool? Yes, it is somewhat okay. So now we are going to see about the topic weather and climate. So first of all, we all know what is weather. What is weather? It is the day-to-day condition of the atmosphere at a given place and the time. Okay, and it changes every day at every time. And what is climate? Climate is nothing but the average weather conditions for a longer period of time. So in this lesson, we are going to see about the difference between weather and climate and what are all the elements which contribute to climate and weather. And now the heat zones. So last year itself we have learned about the heat zones of the earth, isn't it? The torrid zone, temperate zone and frigid zone. And we all know that torrid zone, since it lies in the equator, will always be very hot and humid throughout the year. And next to the torrid zone lies the temperate zone. Okay. So a temperate zone, it will be neither very hot nor cold. And the frigid zone, it remains very cold throughout the year. And next we will be discussing about winds. So what is called as a wind? Air which moves horizontally is called as a wind. So under winds we will be discussing planetary winds, periodic winds and local winds. And next important terms relating to weather and climate. Humidity. What is humidity? The amount of the moisture present in the air is called as humidity. So under humidity, you will be learning absolute humidity and relative humidity. Next about condensation. So what is condensation? You already know. So the moist air, when it becomes cool, it changes from the water vapor to water droplets. That is called as condensation. So under condensation, we will be discussing about clouds. What are the types of clouds? Like cirrus clouds, stratus clouds and cumulus clouds. And next is precipitation. Under precipitation, we are going to discuss about types of rainfall like the orographic, convectional rainfall or cyclonic or frontal rainfall. Okay. So in this lesson, we are going to see about all these things in detail. So let's see.
Yes, what is the name of the topic? Weather and climate. So children, first we have to understand what is the difference between weather and climate. Okay, so weather describes the day-to-day conditions of the atmosphere. So as I told you, it can change quickly. Okay, one day it can be dry and sunny and the next day it may rain. And the condition of different elements of weather keep changing from time to time and from place to place. So thus the change in weather is a continuous phenomena. Okay, now what is climate? So it describes the average weather conditions over longer periods and over large areas. Okay, and otherwise we can say that climate is defined as average overall condition of the air temperature, atmospheric pressure, humidity, precipitation and winds over a large area and for a long period of time. And the climate of a place remains more or less the same year after year. While in weather we learn that it changes, isn't it? It changes day by day or from time to time. But climate doesn't change. Okay. Now we are going to learn about the elements of weather. So children, what are the elements of weather? As we discussed, it is air temperature, atmospheric pressure, humidity, cloudiness, the precipitation, winds and visibility. Okay. So now let's see about air temperature. So children, next we are going to see about air temperature. So the sun radiates heat and light energy. This you all know. So this is called as solar radiation. And only a very small part of the solar radiation is able to reach the Earth's surface. And the amount of solar radiation received by the Earth's surface is called insolation. What it is children? It is insolation. So the word insolation has been derived from the incoming solar radiation. Okay. And the Earth's surface absorbs maximum insolation during the day, and at night the heat which was absorbed during the day is radiated back. And this is called as terrestrial radiation. Okay. And the heat from the terrestrial radiation is mostly absorbed by gases, water vapor and the dust particles present in the atmosphere. And the atmosphere is heated more by the terrestrial radiation than by insolation. Okay, so what is insolation? The amount of solar radiation received by the Earth's surface. So before learning about the distribution of temperature, we'll learn about the heating of the atmosphere first. Okay. So the solar radiation which passes through the atmosphere before reaching the Earth's surface does not heat the atmosphere directly, but the solar radiation is able to heat the Earth's surface. Okay, and this heat is further transmitted to the upper layers and the atmosphere is heated. Okay, so the air resting over the Earth's surface get heated due to the contact with the hot surface of the Earth. And we have learnt about heat zones of the Earth last year. Do you remember, children? Yes. So we learnt about the torrid zone, temperate zone and frigid zone. Yes, maybe in 5th standard you have learnt, if suppose I am saying correctly. And what is torrid zone? So torrid zone is located in the northern hemisphere between the equator and the Tropic of Cancer, and southern hemisphere between the equator and Tropic of Capricorn, isn't it? And it receives maximum insolation and the sun's rays are almost vertical throughout the year, and it is the hottest part of the earth. Why? Because it lies near the equator. Next is the temperate zone. So the temperate zone, it lies between the Tropic of Cancer and the Arctic Circle, and in the southern hemisphere between the Tropic of Capricorn and the Antarctic Circle. So here it receives moderate insolation and the region enjoys moderate temperature. So it is neither hot nor too cold here. And the last one you all know, frigid zone. So in the northern hemisphere it lies between the Arctic Circle and the North Pole, and in the southern hemisphere between the Antarctic Circle and the South Pole, and it receives minimum insolation and the sun's rays are slanting throughout the year. So this is the coldest part of the earth. Okay. So the next one is about the distribution of temperature. So the air temperature of a place is directly dependent on the amount of insolation received by that place. So in general, the amount of insolation received, okay, decreases as we move from equator towards the poles. This you all know before itself. So on the basis of the amount of heat received by the Earth's surface, the Earth has been divided into 3 heat zones which we have seen earlier. Okay. So the next is about the atmospheric pressure. So you all know that air has weight, isn't it? That's why when you blow a balloon, what happens? It floats, right? So air has weight and the atmosphere exerts its weight as pressure on the Earth's surface. And this is called as atmospheric pressure. Okay, and the weight of an air column standing over 1 square centimeter area of the earth is more than 1 kilogram, and the normal atmospheric pressure at mean sea level is about 76 centimeter of the mercury column, or 1013 millibar in the barometer. Can you see the barometer instrument in the picture? Yes, that is barometer. And millibar, MB is the unit which is used to measure the atmospheric pressure. Okay, children. So the variations in the atmospheric pressure on the Earth's surface is due to temperature, density of the air, and height of the place above the mean sea level, and the amount of moisture present in the air. Okay, you all know what is density. Density is nothing but the volume content. Okay, and moisture, the water content in the air, that is called as moisture. And the air which rests on the Earth's surface expands on being heated and becomes light, and it rises upwards and creates an area of low pressure. In the news and all, they'll be saying, low pressure area, high pressure area. Okay, so kindly note it, children. Okay, so in contrast, the cold air contracts and become heavy and it settles down, and this creates an area of high pressure. So the tendency of the atmospheric pressure is that it decreases with an increase in temperature, and it decreases with an increase in altitude. Altitude means height. And the moist air exerts less pressure than the dry air, and the Earth's rotation modifies its distribution. Okay. So next we are going to see about the distribution of atmospheric pressure. So children, the atmospheric pressure is highest at the mean sea level. So on the mountains, the thickness and the density of air column is less, and hence the atmospheric pressure is also less. Okay, and the atmospheric pressure on the Earth's surface is not the same, and this is due to the unequal heating of the atmosphere. And normally the atmospheric pressure should increase from the equator towards the poles, but it is not so. So at some places it is modified by the Earth's rotation, and there are 7 major pressure belts on the Earth. How many pressure belts? 7 major pressure belts. So however, they are not continuous, but in the picture you can see the pressure belts. Okay, so first one is the equatorial low pressure belt. It extends between 5 degree north and 5 degrees south latitudes. Next one is subtropical high pressure belts. They extend between 30 degree and 35 degree latitudes in the northern and the southern hemispheres. And the next one is subpolar low pressure belts, and it extends between 60 degree and 70 degree latitudes in the northern and the southern hemispheres. And the next one is the polar high pressure belts, which is around the north pole and the south pole. Okay. So the next one is about the winds. So the variations in the atmospheric pressure result in the movement of air. So air that moves horizontally is called wind. What is wind? Air that moves horizontally is called wind. And the vertical movement of air is called as air current. What is called air current? The vertical movement of air. Okay, and wind blows from a high pressure region to a low pressure region, and we can broadly classify this winds into three major types. What are they? Planetary winds, periodic winds, and local winds. So first one we are going to see about planetary winds. So first one is planetary winds. So some winds blow constantly in a particular direction throughout the year, and these winds are known as the planetary winds or prevailing or permanent winds. So it has two names, children, so please register in your mind. It is called as planetary winds or prevailing winds or permanent winds. So these winds originate in the presence of permanent high pressure and low pressure belts on the earth's surface. And three main types of planetary winds are trade winds, westerlies, and the polar winds. So first one, what are the trade winds? The trade winds blow from the subtropical high pressure belts to the equatorial low pressure belt in both the hemispheres, and they are called as northeast trade winds and southeast trade winds in the northern and the southern hemispheres respectively. Okay, and next one we are going to see about the westerlies. So the westerlies blow from the subtropical high pressure belts to the subtropical low pressure belts in both the hemispheres, and they blow from southwest to northeast in the northern hemisphere and from northwest to the southeast in the southern hemisphere, and thus they are called as southwesterlies and northwesterlies. And here you have something to remember. So due to the absence of land masses in the southern hemisphere, especially between 40 degrees south and 60 degrees south latitudes, the westerlies blow at great speed. So thus they are known as the roaring 40s or the furious 50s and the screeching 60s at 40 degrees south, 50 degrees south, and 60 degrees south respectively. So what are they? Roaring 40s, furious 50s, and screeching 60s. Okay. And next about the polar winds. So the polar winds blow from the polar high pressure to the subpolar low pressure belts in both the hemispheres, and they blow from the northeast to the southwest in the northern hemisphere. Okay, and these winds are called as the northeast polar winds and the southeast polar winds in both the northern and the southern hemispheres. And these winds are very cool and dry. So the next one we are going to see about the periodic winds. So some winds have a tendency to reverse their direction periodically. So these winds blow in a definite direction during a particular period of the day or year. So such winds are called as periodic winds, and they are caused due to the unequal heating and the cooling of the earth's surface. And the main types of periodic winds are the monsoon winds and the sea breeze and land breeze. So first one, monsoon winds. The monsoon winds are derived from the Arabic word mawsim, which means season. So in the tropical areas, there is a sharp difference in the summer and the winter temperatures between the interior of the continents and the surrounding water bodies. So thus the monsoon winds change their direction with the change of season. So these winds are best developed over the Indian subcontinent and the adjoining areas. Next one about the sea breeze and the land breeze. So the sea and the land breeze blow over the narrow strips of the coastal areas. So during daytime the land is warmer than the adjoining sea. So this leads to the development of a low pressure area over the land, and thus the cooler wind from the sea blows towards the land. So this wind is called as the sea breeze. So children, you all know about what is land breeze and sea breeze, so I don't want to repeat it again. Okay. Next we'll be seeing about the local winds. So next is the local winds. So winds which blow over small areas and for a short time are called as local winds. Okay, children. So here in many parts of the world, winds with special characteristics blow over small areas, and these winds blow only for a short time, as I said. So that's why it is called as a local winds. And most of them are seasonal, and the names are usually derived from the regional languages. And some are called as Lu, Chinook, Fohn, and Harmattan. So first one, Lu. Can you see in the picture? First one, A is Lu. So Lu is a hot and a dry and a dusty wind which blows in the plains of northern India. So it commonly occurs during the month of May and June. Next one is the Chinook, B. It is a warm and a dry wind which blows on the eastern side of the Rocky Mountains in North America. So under its influence, the snow on the mountains melts rapidly. So thus it is also called as the snow eater. So underline in your textbook and remind, okay? Keep in your mind. So what is snow eater? The Chinook winds. Next one. The Fohn is a warm and a dry wind which blows across the Alps in Europe during winter, and it helps in the ripening of grapes in France. And D. The Harmattan is a warm and a dry wind which blows over the northwest Africa. So it gives some relief from the damp heat of the tropics. So children, what is humidity? The amount of water vapor present in air is called humidity. So it is closely related to air temperature. Okay. So the humidity of air can be expressed in two ways. They are absolute humidity and relative humidity. So the actual amount of water vapor present in the air is called as absolute humidity, and it is high near the equator and decreases towards the poles. So it is expressed in grams per cubic meter. Okay. And the ratio between the actual amount of water vapor present in the air at a given temperature and the maximum capacity of the air to hold the moisture content at the temperature is called as relative humidity. So it is always expressed in percentage, and that is while absolute humidity determines the amount of precipitation, it is relative humidity which tells us about its possibility, whether it occurs or not. So children, before entering into clouds, we have to know what is condensation. So when moist air rises upward, it becomes cool and the water vapor changes into water droplets. So this process is called condensation, and it takes place around the dust particles present in the air. So the important forms of condensation are dew, frost, fog, and clouds. So what is dew, children? You already know, isn't it? You have during the long winter nights, the grasses, leaves, and flowers and other sand particles, they'll be having small droplets of water on them. Yes, that is called as dew. And if the temperature falls below the freezing point, tiny ice crystals will be formed in the place of water droplets. So that is called as frost. Okay. So now we'll be discussing about clouds. So what are clouds? So the mass of water droplets that can be moved from one place to another by the light air movement is called as a cloud. So we have three types of clouds here. So what are they? First one is the cirrus clouds. So they are formed at high altitude, that is high height, and they have hair-like appearance. So they contain tiny ice crystals and indicate dry weather, and they reflect brilliant colors during sunrise or sunset. Next one is the stratus clouds. So here they are a low level clouds. They have uniform layers and they provide rain or snow which are mostly accompanied by thunder and lightning. So when we get thunder and lightning, what type of clouds do we have? We have stratus clouds. Next one is the cumulus clouds. So they are dense and widespread and they have flat bases and they are mostly associated with fair weather, but sometimes they may become as thunder clouds. So the rain bearing clouds are generally low level clouds and are given the prefix or suffix nimbus. Okay, we say that as nimbus clouds. So the word nimbus is derived from a Latin word which means a rainy cloud, and cumulonimbus is an example of a rain bearing cloud. Okay children, so what clouds we have learned today? We have learned what is how clouds are formed. Then we learned what is a cirrus cloud, next stratus cloud and cumulus clouds. These are the three main clouds. Then we learned about what is a nimbus cloud. So rain bearing clouds are generally low level clouds and they are given the prefix or suffix as nimbus. Okay, and the cumulonimbus is an example of rain-bearing cloud. Okay, what is cumulonimbus cloud? It is a rain-bearing cloud. So next we are going to learn about precipitation. So what is precipitation? So it is the process by which the water droplets, when unable to float in the air, it falls down either as water drops or flakes of snow. Okay, and the main forms of precipitation are rain, drizzle, hail and snow. So first we are going to discuss about rain. So first we are going to discuss about rain. So precipitation in the form of water drops is called rain. Okay. So rain is the most important forms of precipitation. So depending upon how warm or moist air cools, rainfall can be classified into three types. First one is orographic rainfall, next one is the convectional rainfall, and third one is the cyclonic or the frontal rainfall. So now we'll discuss about each one. So next we are going to see about the orographic rainfall. So can you see figure 3.7 children? So when a mountain or a hill comes in the path of a moisture laden winds, the moist air mass is forced to ascend along its slope, that is travel along its slope. So as the moist air mass rises, the cooling takes place. So this is followed by the condensation and precipitation. So this is called as orographic rainfall or the relief rainfall. So the windward side of a mountain gets more rainfall than the leeward side, that is the shaded part. Okay, leeward side means the shaded part. So on the leeward side, the air descends and becomes warmer. So thus the leeward side gets less rainfall and it is known as a rain shadow area. Okay children, can you understand orographic rainfall? So when a mountain or a hill comes in the path of the moisture laden winds, the moist air mass is forced to move along the slope. Okay, so this process is followed by condensation and precipitation, and this is called as the orographic or the relief rainfall. And the leeward side gets less rainfall and it is known as the rain shadow area. Next one is the convectional rainfall. So when air comes in contact with the hot surface of the earth, it gets heated and becomes light, and it rises in the form of air current. So after the warm air current reaches the upper layers of the atmosphere, it expands and loses heat. So this leads to the condensation and the formation of the cumulus clouds. So these clouds give sudden and heavy rainfall accompanied by thunder and lightning. So this is called as a convectional rainfall, and it is experienced every day in the equatorial region. So can you see figure 3.8 in your text? Yes, that is convectional rainfall. And the next one will be the cyclonic rainfall. So cyclonic rainfall is generally associated with cyclones in the tropical regions to condensation of moisture and rainfall. So this is called as a cyclonic rainfall. So in the temperate regions, when warm and cool air masses meet, the lighter warm air mass overrides the cold air mass. That is, they both collide with each other, and the boundary between the two air masses is called front. So condensation takes place in the warm air mass and rainfall occurs along the path of the cyclone. And this type of rainfall is called as the frontal rainfall, and it is common in the belt of the westerlies, especially in winter. So that is figure 3.9. So next, the last topic what we are going to see is about hail and snow. So what is hail? When the upward moving air carries water drops to a much higher altitude, they freeze and they form ice pellets. So when these ice pellets fall down and are lifted again, a layer of frozen water is added around the ice pellets. Okay, so these ice pellets grow in size and weight. So when the upward air current cannot hold them in air, they fall as hailstones. Okay, that is called as hail. Next one is snow. So when air temperature is below the freezing point, the water vapor present in the clouds condenses to form tiny ice crystals called snow. So these tiny ice crystals join together to form flakes of snow. So when these snowflakes fall, it is called as a snowfall. And when snow and rain fall together, it is called as sleet. Right children? So what is hail and what is snow? Did you understand? Yes. So children, in this lesson we have learnt about weather and climate, and in detail we have learnt about the elements of weather. So now let's discuss the objectives and we'll end up the session. So first Roman letter will be tick the correct answers. First one. Which of these is effective in heating the atmosphere? A. Sunshine, B. Terrestrial radiation, C. Advection, and D. Insulation. So the answer is option B, terrestrial radiation. Second question. How many low pressure belts are there on the Earth's surface? A. 2, B. 3, C. 4, and D. 7. So how many pressure belts are there? There are 7. Okay, answer is option D. Next one. The Harmattan wind blows over the northwestern part of Dash. Which continent? Australia, Asia, Europe, Africa. Which one? It is option D, Africa. Next one. Which of these is not a form of condensation? A. Drizzle, B. Cloud, C. Dew, D. Fog. So it is option A, drizzle. Next one. Dash rainfall occurs in the equatorial region. Orographic, frontal, convectional, and cyclonic. Which is the correct answer? It is option C, convectional rainfall. Next, right, true or false. First one. The torrid zone receives minimum insolation. No, the answer is false. Since it is near the equator, it is very hot there. Okay. Second one. The atmospheric pressure is the highest in the mountains. No, it is low. So answer is false. Third one. The planetary winds blow in a particular direction throughout the year. Yes, the answer is true. Next one. The dust particles in the air help in condensation. Yes, the answer is true. Last one. The orographic rainfall is common in the belt of the westerlies. No, answer is false. So children, write your classwork neatly with legible handwriting, okay? And prepare well for your monthly test. Take care and be safe, children.